Here we are at the back of the Angel Hotel in Pershore on the River Avon, beautiful behind, to see a man waiting for us in Pumpkin called Michael Chapman Pincher. Let's find out more about him.
Pitter-patter, pitter-patter, down comes the rain. Oh, what a bummer. Well, what's gone wrong with summer? What's gone wrong with summer? Rain clouds gather, chill wind blow, troubled rooms as rivers grow, broken bank and the water flows, and highways begin to close, highways begin to close. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter, down comes the rain. Oh, what a bummer. What's gone wrong with summer? What's gone wrong with summer? You can blame it on meteorology, claim anomaly, use an apology like unfortunate apology, but whatever the political homily, it's a sign of things to come. It's a sign of things to come. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter, down comes the rain. Oh, what a bummer. I say, what's gone wrong with summer? What's gone wrong with summer? Trees uprooted from their spot, battered harvest left to rot, bitter farmers losing the lot. But the media's got their shot, the media's got their shot. 'Cause you can blame it on meteorology, claim anomaly, use an apology like unfortunate apology, but whatever the political homily, it's a sign of things to come. It's a sign of things to come. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter, down comes the rain. Oh, what a bummer. What's gone wrong with summer? What's gone wrong with summer? What's gone wrong with summer? It's a washed out song for summer.
Welcome to the Pumpkin Session.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Lovely spot.
Now, Dave has told me so much information about you and maybe your dad that my head's about to explode.
Bang.
Yes.
Yes. Now, let's put it back together again.
Yeah, well, try. Please try. Yes.
Where do you want me to start? From now and work backwards.
Well,
My dad.
yeah, he was very famous.
My dad had an amazing Second World War.
Yeah.
He started off life as a teacher just
Right.
before the war and thought, hey, this is not for me.
Right.
Then he went into the army and went into ballistics
Okay.
and passed the arithmetic exam at the Woolwich Arsenal, which is a ferociously difficult thing to do. And that put him in with a very small group of people who were into ballistics and weapons and guns and
Okay.
all that type of stuff. And rockets.
Wow.
And at the end of the war,
Yeah.
he got to know Lord Beaverbrook, and then Churchill, and then a whole lot of politicians. And when he came out of the war, he got offered a job as the Defence Medical and Science Correspondent on the Daily Express, which was then the equivalent of, I guess, the Daily Mail.
Yes.
It had a circulation of a readership of 11 million, which is big numbers.
Yeah, it is.
Because that's all people had was the
Yes.
newspaper. And he became a scoop journalist. He invented investigative journalism, because before the war people were deferential to
Yes.
politicians and
Yeah.
authority.
Yeah.
And it became very apparent that people needed to know what was going on. And what I mean by that is that at the end of the war, they thought there was going to be a peace dividend.
Yes.
We've heard that before.
Yeah.
But because of the threat that was genuinely posed by Russia,
Yes.
we had to remain spending money on weapons.
Okay. Yeah.
And my father had an amazing piece of luck. He was approached by a very senior civil servant
Okay.
who befriended him.
Yes.
And this civil servant thought that the British people needed to know why we needed to carry on spending money.
Right.
And so he leaked to my father. He leaked important stories, big stories.
Oh.
And that led him to become a scoop journalist, because he knew how to get front page headlines,
Yes.
scoop stories. And he never looked back. He got inside of a charm circle, and once you're inside of a charm circle, it's always expanding.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
Of course, you've had a pretty good life too, a bit of interesting stuff. Thrown out of boarding school.
I was thrown out of boarding school. My father I was a great disappointment to him. He died at 100,
Yeah.
and we had a wonderful couple of years together at the end of his life.
Yeah.
But he always just said, "Oh, lad, you were lazy," because he was a Yorkshireman. And he never did the hard work, because he loved doing hard work.
Yeah.
That was his thing. And I've never been shy of hard work, but I got no qualifications whatsoever and started off life working in the theatre as a sound and light guy, as a technician. In the old days of repertory theatre, which are now sadly all but gone.
Yeah.
And at a wonderful theatre which was sponsored by the Arts Council, called the Thorndike Theatre in Leatherhead. And it had more money and more stars poured at it by the Arts Council than you can imagine. And so I worked there as chief electrician for several years, and had all the wonderful experience of rep, which is sort of Agatha Christie type shows, pantomime, serious drama, Shakespeare, all the good things, and some modern stuff that was coming out. And this was all turning round in 3 weeks. So you have one show in rehearsal, one show in production, and one show being planned.
Wow.
So it was grand.
Brilliant. And it took you to the Palladium, didn't it?
It took me via various places to the Palladium, where I finally walked out on strike.
What was that like?
Well, it was a moment. We had a stellar cast in the pantomime of Cinderella, and it was the time of the 3-day week, which is when the power went out.
Yeah.
And we had a situation where the power went out and the generator wouldn't start. So I, as the stage manager, had to go back to the stars and say, "Hey, you've got to go out in front of the curtain and entertain what was a full house at the London Palladium." There were a number of stars. They're now all dead, I think, so I can name them.
Say what you like
There
about
was
them.
Terry Scott, there was Ronnie Corbett, there was David Kossoff, there was Julian Orchard, there was Clodagh Rogers, there was Jack Jones, who was Dandini, and various other stars, and all they could do, after having been pressured to go out, and they were on big money, was all they could do was organise a sing-song of "There's a Tavern in the Town." And I had worked in some fringe theatre in London, experimental stuff, which was very exciting, and to suddenly realise that you'd reached the top of the tree and this was all they could do, and I just down tools and left and never worked in the theatre again.
Oh. And did this bring you on to music then, or did it
Well,
always been
I've been in bands like a lot of people have, and I write songs. And the first song I ever wrote got into a film.
Wow.
and it was a film about a circus called The World Within the Ring.
Okay.
And I thought, hey, this is the start.
Yeah.
This is the start of a career.
Yeah.
I made £25 out of that. I've never been a penny since. And I've written some fantastic songs, and they all have a tale round them. And the one common denominator of their failure behind them is me. So it's something about me that
I'm
ultimately
sure it can't be.
leads to them not going. I wrote a song about Ireland fairly recently and got to a song competition
Right.
where I won the room.
Well,
And the major prize was €1,500.
Right.
To be sniffed
no,
at.
Oh.
no.
Not to be sniffed at. Second prize was €700, and third prize was a medal. I won the room, and at the end, during the interval, they all said, "Oh, it's a grand song. You've won this. This is you're taking it away." And when it came to the awards, I got the medal,
Whoa.
and the Minister of Tourism, who I shall not name, came up to me and said, "Look here, you're an Englishman. You won the room. Whatever gave you the idea that you could come to County Kerry and walk away with the gold?" So it's been like that ever since.
Well, I've got a big thank you. You don't know this, but it was through you that I got into local music.
How?
But 7 or 8 years ago, I was on the radio doing a comedy show, and it was all drying up, and I was all going to quit, and my personal life was rubbish. And a mate took me to Droitwich, where the Soap Fest was on,
Yes.
and I helped with his youth club. And I said, I'm going to go for a stroll up the road, and I went to stroll up the road, and who was playing? Mickey and Griff.
Ah, Mickey and Griff, that find you.
Oh, and I was listening to
Yes.
you guys, and then I got chatting to a girl next to me, and she bought me a drink, and she turned out to be a singer. And I thought, oh, I wonder if she'd come up the radio. So that's where it all started.
Well, that's
So
fantastic.
all through you.
Great.
There
Well,
you
I'm
are.
glad I've had a positive effect on
Yes.
someone's life. So that's
And you
that's
do.
terrific.
Do share a love for something mole catching.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Are you a mole
in
catcher
your
I
too?
past.
used to. I've got some of the traps. I used to do it, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I had a big job in London, and I lost it in a political coup. And when I came back down here, somebody said, "You've got to take the first job that comes along,
Yeah.
because
Right.
you've got to get back in the saddle."
Yeah.
And there was a wonderful man round here called Major Porter, who lives in Birmingham, and he was very imperious, and he was always shouting at people. But because I'd been shouted at regularly by my father, he didn't frighten me at all. And he said, "Do you know a mole catcher?" And I said, "Me," because I had done it as a boy.
Ah.
And
Yeah.
like all these things, you've
Yeah.
either got the touch
Exactly.
or you haven't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for most people, moles drive them mad.
Yes.
They get in the people's lawns, they go crazy, and they try and catch them and they can't. And you've either got the touch,
Yeah.
and you can pull them out the ground, or you haven't.
Yeah.
So it gets you into lovely places.
Yes.
Yes.
Lovely
Yeah.
places.
And if his face looks familiar, you've been on TV, haven't you?
Well, a couple of 3 times. I was on Come Dine
Yeah, I
With
was
Me fairly
watching you.
recently.
on that.
Ah.
Yeah.
How did it go?
I didn't.
Oh, it was that guy. He fitted you up.
I was fitted up. It was
Yeah.
a terrible thing.
He was.
But I have some theory that's not really proven, that if you do the last one on the Friday,
Yeah.
you're not going to win, because at that point everyone's tactical.
Yes.
Ah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody gave me a 9, and somebody gave me a 4. And you've got to work out that the 4 was probably somebody thought they were in with a shout.
Yes.
And indeed they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they walked away with the gold as well. It's a story of my
Oh,
life.
there's a
Other
story
people,
going here.
Medal.
other people walking away with it. Yes. But it was quite fun.
Yeah.
It's
Good.
exhausting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, once you've done it, you never get to do it again. So
Yeah, sure.
unless you win. But I didn't.
So, musically at the moment, what are you up to?
Well, I put on music festivals down
Yes.
at the Angel, which is grand, which means
Yeah.
you get involved with lots of local talent.
Yes.
And we have in Pershore rather good pub called the Millers,
Yes.
where they have 3 different music nights a month.
Right.
And I now go along to those, and we had on Tuesday night the folk night.
Yes.
And it's not really very folky, except folk turn up.
Right.
So you can play what you like.
Yeah.
And the great thing about those things is you can play your own tunes.
Yes.
Because everyone gets slightly fed up with bad covers.
Yes, definitely.
But it's very difficult to play your own stuff if when Mickey and Griff were playing, you've got to play other people's stuff,
Yeah.
covers.
Yeah.
And in fact, we were at that, we were playing when you came up, and somebody had come up and said, would you do a request for my nan, who was sitting over in a wheelchair, quite old, would you play Stranger on the Shore? And I looked at her and I said, we're a musical singing duo, and that's an instrumental for clarinet.
Surely could have found a clarinet somewhere.
Maybe there was a hit there.
So you get strange requests, and you also get to play songs. And I like throwing in mine because you don't have to pay anyone royalties.
That's very
What
true.
three are you going to do for us today?
I'm going to do a song which was written in 2007 about the very bad summer,
Right.
when where we are standing now was under several feet of water.
Yeah.
In fact, a jacuzzi went past here at about 40 miles an hour at one point. It had obviously been ripped out of someone's garden.
Nobody in it.
No, I don't think so. There weren't any bubbles. And it shot past where we are now. And there was a whole lot of detritus that went down the river, but the jacuzzi was definitely the high spot. So I'm going to do that because what's happened to summer?
I know.
This summer
I know.
Strange.
has not been very good.
No.
Definitely not.
Then I'm going to sing a little love song, but it's really a confessional, and it's got a moral tale at the end of it, and then a love song about one of my great loves, which are trading estates.
Ah.
Right.
Of which round here there are numerous, and
Yes.
I spend a lot of time going in them because I like looking around for deals.
Yes.
And I make stuff and do stuff. And if you get on a trading estate, they're making everything.
Yeah. That's
You
true.
go around the corner and they're doing this,
Yeah.
and then they're carving this, and
Yeah.
then they're constructing that, and I just absolutely adore them. I think they're fantastic places,
Ah.
and they're full of people, grafting away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Skills are made.
Let's listen to them then.
My son done an awful crime. He copied one of mine. My daddy should have done time. We all treated women unkind. We let love wither on the vine. Let love wither away. Well, is it fair to suffer somebody pain? To drain a heart of tenderness and care? It's not fair, not sane, to let one love in vain. So if you plan a copycat crime, step aside and decline. Step aside, step aside, 'cause true love in you has died. And you break a heart like I broke a heart. Break a heart in two. Break one in two. So if you love, don't you be blind and leave someone to pine. 'Cause it's precious and rare when two true hearts entwine. So don't be blind to what's on your vine, or drink deep from love's sweet wine. Don't be blind drink deep from love's sweet wine. If you doubt what Britain's about, or in a state of what makes us great, we'll head for a ring road and follow an Arctic load to a trading estate where folk toil. From the white cliffs to tartan soil, you find one-man bands, merchant traders, auto shops, scrap metal graders, mechanics, organic, wholesale suppliers, and pop-worn tires in White Van Man's home from home. Yes, White Van Man's home from home. You get estimation and fabrication, ventilation, reclamation, foundation of a nation, acres of industry. It's a high-vis world of forklift trucks. You'll get lost, so the best of luck in White Van Man's home from home. Yes, White Van Man's home from home. They're places of art graft. You'll have a good laugh and a tasty treat. 'Cause under the Flapperbett's burger van, about proper saucy sausage. On our trading estates, our islands of toil, from Tiger Bay to Loch Foyle, you find one-stop shops, wheelers, dealers, welding bays, boy racer squealers, grease monkey, speed junkies, bold and brash. You deal in cash in White Van Man's home from home. Yeah, White Van Man's home from home. There's importing, exporting, bedding, shredding, graving, paving, glazing, worth praising, a homegrown industry. So head for a ring road, follow an Arctic load. All over the country, off a slip road, are trading estates where enterprise explode. Whoa, 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 whoa.
That's another pumpkin session over from the wonderful Mr. Michael Chapman Pincher. Brilliant. I'm Andy.
I'm Dave.
And this has been the pumpkin sessions.
And we're off to the pub.
I'm going swimming.
Well, yeah.